I'm going to talk to you guys about how to use the jeweler's saw and the bench pin. Okay, now this bench pin is something that exceeds or that kind of comes out of the table so that you can use it around. You can manipulate your piece of metal all around, so you can get different angles and whatnot. So we have this bench pin that is flat and is angled, and it has these notches. Now the angled or the flat, it doesn't matter which one you use. Sometimes it's nice to have it angled because then you can see it at an angle. Sometimes it's nice to have it flat. Just depends. But I'm going to put it on like that, and what you're going to do is you're going to get a C-clamp, and you're going to attach it like this, and you will tighten it. So now you can manipulate your piece of metal with this. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the jeweler's saw. Now, the jeweler's saw has a handle, and it has 3 wing bolts. And these 3 wing bolts control different parts of the saw. So this wing bolt here, when you loosen it, you can adjust the height of the saw. So if you have a saw blade that's this tall, you will adjust it that high, or this small, however tall your saw blade is. And then you tighten it, and it's set. And these control actually these 2 pieces of metal right here. Okay? So these pieces of metal, they clamp together. So if I loosen this, then this piece of metal right here is going to be loosened, and there's a gap. And then as I tighten it, it gets closer. Same thing on this top side. And that is where you put your saw blade in. So let me show you how to set up your saw blade, or how to set up the saw with a saw blade. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your saw blade, and it's in a holder at the front of the class. And you'll take your saw blade. Now, the saw belongs, and it's really hard to tell, but this saw blade has teeth on one side and flat on the other. So the teeth need to be facing out, and the flat side needs to be facing in, and then the teeth need to be facing down so that you cut your material on a downstroke. Okay, so teeth out and down. So I'm gonna find out which, I'm gonna look closely, and as I look closely, I see that they're down. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to loosen this. I'm gonna loosen this wing bolt. And when I loosen it, I'm going to slide the blade in between these 2 plates. And when I slide it in, I'm going to tighten that wing bolt. Okay? So now that saw blade is tight in this first wing bolt. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to go to this wing bolt. I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to adjust the height of the saw blade. So I twist it, and I adjust it just enough so that the saw blade right here is about 1/4 of an inch into this overlapping metal or compressing metal, about 1/4 of an inch. So if you see, it's just over it. Okay, and then I'm going to tighten it. Now it's still flapping, so now what I'll need to do is I will put it into this jaw right here. So I will put it on my jeweler's, the bench pin, and I'll put this right in my sternum or gut. I'll slide the metal in, and I will just slightly lean into it. And as I lean, the distance between these two shortens. I tighten it, and as I release, it's now tight, and you can hear it. It's a tight blade. Now, if I don't do that, and I loosen it, and then if I don't tighten it correctly, and it has a wobble, you don't want that. So, once again, I put it in the bench pin. I lean up against it, so it's a little tight. I tighten this wing bolt. I release it. It still needs to be a little tighter. And it has that high pitch. And now it is good. It's ready to saw. So once again, 3 wing bolts. You secure the blade here first. Then you adjust the height, and then you secure it in this the final wing bolt. It should be tight, and the blade should be facing out and down so that it cuts on the downward stroke. So this is the first one. This is the second. This is the third. Make sure that the blade is facing out and down, and you're good to go.